Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Happy to see you today. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Flavien Defraire, Community Manager of the BGA, the Blockchain Game Alliance, and really happy to have you today. At first, I would like to thank John, Maximilian, and the NFC team for this incredible event, and obviously for this opportunity to let us represent the BGA, represent the Blockchain Game Alliance through our panel, through our discussion we'll have on Metanomics. So thank you very much, guys, for letting the stage to us. Before just letting the stage to our speakers and BGA members, I just would like to take some minutes to introduce the BGA, what we do, who we are. The BGA, the Blockchain Game Alliance, is an organization committed to promoting blockchain within the gaming industry. Our goal is really to spread awareness about blockchain technology and raise and have adoptions with what we try to build with the community. And we are really committing on the fact that we try to build these strong networks of members, strong networks of companies to be able to build something all together. Facing all the different challenges we have with Web3, we gather any type of companies and group willing to promote blockchain within the game industry. So we today really happy to have almost 400 members of the BGA, and including this sandbox, including Gala Games, including a lot of different people you already met yesterday and you can meet obviously today. We have Gamer Hash that I can see right there, so happy to see you guys. And obviously we have DappRadar and Cryptomon today. So yes, a large network. We want to capitalize on that now, large networks to bring awareness, create synergy between all the different members, depending on the different challenge they have. And without any further ado, I would like to, welcome to our speakers and discussing our panel today about metanomics. So, without any further ado, I would like to welcome Pedro Herrera.
Hey.
How are you?
GM, everyone. I'm Pedro, the Senior Blockchain Analyst at DappRadar. And for those of you who don't know what DappRadar is, it's basically a platform where we centralize and aggregate data to distribute to our audience. Basically, we measure and track metrics from blockchain dApps, like unique active wallets, volumes, and so on. We also have interesting products like an NFT valuation tool, where it's based on machine learning. So you can go and see what your NFTs are worth. And basically, we're trying to build a community product, a data-driven, that gives more visibility to Web3 people about what's happening in the space.
Great. I would like to welcome Serena Tabacchi. Maybe some of you had the pleasure to see her in another panel this morning. Co-founder of the Mogda. So if you want, Serena, to speak about yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Flavien, and welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining this panel. So here I'm wearing the BGA hat. I've also been part of the BGA for quite some time, building and growing it, the members, and what the Blockchain Game Alliance is today and has been and will be in the future. So, but I also am the co-founder and director of Mogda, which is a museum that welcomes contemporary digital art, so not just only crypto art. So I was doing a panel this morning around that, but today I'm here to discuss gaming and how Metaverse and different NFT applications actually relate, so that there's no many difference between gaming, the Metaverse, and art, but is actually, part of the entire ecosystem that is evolving. So thanks, Flavien, for the intro.
Thank you very much, Serena. How to talk about the Metaverse without having a blockchain games in the panel, so I'm very pleased to have Amit Peled, Chief Strategy Officer of Cryptomon. So Amit, if you can introduce yourself.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all. I'm Amit Peled. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Cryptomon. Cryptomon is a gaming company, a blockchain gaming company that launched in around May of last year, so we were early on. When we look at NFT gaming, we're basically, if like an elevator pitch, we're the fusion between CryptoKitties, Tamagotchi, and Pokemon, everything on Binance Smart Chain. So this is our focus, and I think if we're looking at how gaming looks like, we'll probably be transitioning from 2D to 3D, as most games within this space are doing right now.
Great. So again, thank you guys for being here. Actually, the subject is about Metaverse plus economy equal Metanomics, which means what is the economy of the Metaverse? So obviously, the first question we need to answer is what is the Metaverse? You know, it's quite hard to have a specific definition of what we can see as the Metaverse. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about what's your definition about Metaverse, Pedro?
Yeah, to be fair, the Metaverse is quite an abstract concept, but the Metaverse is a parallel virtual augmented reality where using our digital identities, we can socialize and share immersive experiences like attending a concert, visiting a museum, but also trade assets seamlessly, play a game. And yeah, I mean, basically, this is a concept of a metaverse, but it's also very important to understand that there are no multiple metaverses. There are multiple metaverse platforms, but there is only one interconnected metaverse that connects these projects. And actually, the concept is nothing new. It's been around for 30 years. And Neil Stephenson coined the term in 1992 in a sci-fi novel called Snow Crash, which is, by the way, worth reading. And then Hollywood popularized with movies like Matrix and most recently Ready Player One version of Steven Spielberg, but we also see the metaverse in games like Second Life or The Sims, right? But why is the metaverse so hyped? And it happened because of macroeconomic events, like Mark Zuckerberg announced the rebranding of Facebook to Meta, and basically people lose their mind. Like everybody wants to be part of the metaverse. But it's also important to distinguish that the metaverse version that these companies like Microsoft, Disney, Meta, they are imagining, it's more like a centralized metaverse. It's not a blockchain-based metaverse where users really own their assets. That's the main difference, the integration of blockchain technologies that allow you users to really own their assets. Because right now we have multiple metaverse platforms, and I'm going to use the example of Fortnite, but we can also use Roblox or any other game. If you buy a skin or a wearable in Fortnite, you basically don't really own the asset. You only own a license of the IP to that asset, but the asset is stored centrally. And with blockchain, you really own the asset, and that's the biggest advantage. The enabler of an economy with cryptocurrencies and NFTs on top. And the most interesting part is the convergence with our blockchain categories. With NFTs, basically, what we are doing in the metaverse as we speak is building our social identity using avatars, using names with domains like ENS, but also building our society in lands where you can build experiences. But also the convergence with DeFi, which will lay the full foundation of the economy. It's very important. And of course, with blockchain games, it's the massive potential that we are flashing mass adoption here.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So, Serena, I don't know if you feel that definition of metaverse.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, the metaverse, it's a place where everyone can be whatever they want to be. Like we can hide behind an avatar, we can change name, we can change skin color, identity, whatever. So to me, the dream of the metaverse was that actually we could democratize or really dream of something that governments actually couldn't achieve in real life and make everyone on the same level. But is that so? Like, is actually happening? Or do we value our avatars and our assets differently so that we reiterate the models that we live in society also in the metaverse? So is that dream real or not? So I'm going to question that with you today and with the rest of the speakers here on stage. But I'm going to quote one of my colleagues at Mokta, Bruno Pizzalis, that actually I love this definition. Like Web 2 allowed us to be free to create, to express ourselves, to add content online. And Web 3 made us free from big corporates, big names, and the big five, whatever. But it somehow allowed us to create freely and be free from people that often own our data and our creativity. So is that true, though? What do you think?
So I was sorry. I was
What's your
always
vision
an
of the
avid
metaverse?
yeah. So I was always an avid gamer, always looking into the metaverse, exactly in the way you look at it. When you're actually participating in the metaverse of a game, and obviously it was coined very early on, but it wasn't really like a mainstream concept until like Meta got with it on, in 2021. And I think that in gaming, that's like the best application for a metaverse, because every game has its own unique universe, and you can be whoever you want to be in this particular universe. And I think as a concept, this basically enables the opportunity for the users themselves to be anybody they want to be. And I think that if we look at how metaverse or gaming on the blockchain looks like and the evolution of it, we started with play to earn. Play to earn basically was incepted in like November 2017 with CryptoKitties, and then I think it was like very early 2018, due to the success of CryptoKitties in ERC 721 in November 2017, Sky Mavis launched their their first version of Axie Infinity. And that was basically the first inception of the concept of play to earn. And I think that over the last 2 years, and I think the first time that Axie really boomed, it was after they had their Binance Launchpad in October of 2020, I think. And this was exactly coinciding with the all-time high, beating the all-time highs of 2017. So I think in a sense, they basically opened the door, were the first movers into the concept of play to earn, and a lot of gaming companies, either traditional gaming or blockchain gaming, understood the opportunity of play to earn. But we saw during 2021 how that economic model doesn't really work, right? It's not sustainable. Basically, when you rely upon new user entering the space for the success of the previous users, then you have basically an issue with your economic model. And I think the focus when it was play to earn, the primary incentive for the users was a monetary one. However, the secondary was the engagement and attractiveness of the metaverse itself. And I think what's basically happening right now, and we in Cryptomon, basically, we coined play and earn already in August, because our focus was always creating a game that is engaging and fun for the users to interact with, while not focusing on the earn aspect as the core belief within the game. So I think play and earn will still have, of course, the earn part, which it will be like the secondary part within the ecosystem, but the primary one will be players enjoying their participation within the metaverse, the game universe, so to speak, and purchasing consumable items, purchasing prestige items like skins. We see that in Fortnite, we see that in Call of Duty Warzone, we see it in FIFA as well. People are actively purchasing assets that they not necessarily use within the app. It doesn't give them any advantage. And basically, when we look in play and earn, and the whole like Web3 economics model, when we're looking at gaming on the blockchain, we will probably transition from the previous play to earn, breed your NFTs to earn an income through that or through participation within the ecosystem, and we'll move towards more revenue models. For example, in Cryptomon, very early on, we started focusing on loot boxes. So basically, in the game, as I said, it's like the fusion between CryptoKitties, Tamagotchi, and Pokemon. We already launched our Tamagotchi phase, and a very significant revenue stream for us is the acquirement of like the users themselves buying loot boxes every day. So every day, users buy loot boxes, which are consumable in-game items, and they use them to take care and nurture and train their Cryptomon, but those are pretty much not the same economics model we had in the past, because, for example, in Axie, you didn't have the option to take care and nurture your Axie, you were only focused on the breeding mechanism. And while building, let's call them tools that enable those users to actually participate in the ecosystem and engage with their, in our case, a digital pet, this creates another form of revenue stream that will basically boost the entire play and earn type of model.
Yeah, yeah. I think you will be happy to know that I fed my Cryptomon this morning. So
finally,
yes.
Finally.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. And actually, at the end of the sessions, we'll have the opportunity to ask any question you have to the audience. So feel free to ask any question you could have. And so, yes, about that. That new economy based on the metaverse, it's creating new job opportunities. So how do you see that? What kind of opportunities we are having right now in terms of economic situations for the metaverse?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an important paradigm shift, how we are going to get used to more digital economy that it's happening inside this parallel reality. And of course, we are going to see a lot of developers getting new jobs. We need to connect the platforms between one another, so developers are going to be always needed. We are also going to need artists that create inside the metaverse. I talked about previously lands. Maybe I have a land and I'm not precisely a designer, so maybe I will hire someone to build my experience that I'm imagining, but I really do not know how to do. So I'm going to hire a developer, a designer. We're also, of course, going to have players. There are going to be a lot of players. People that maybe are shifting from starting a career to playing on earning, which is, I mean, amazing. What else? Real estate brokers. And we see that already with some companies like Real Estate DAO. So basically, this is a marketplace. I want to buy a parcel near Snoop Dogg, land in the sandbox. So maybe I'm going to contact my real estate broker, and he's going to facilitate that trade to me. And finally, we're also going to see how entrepreneurs build DAOs inside a metaverse that are going to become the real businesses inside here. And I can give you the example of DappRadar as a DAO, and how are we doing it with our Radar token. Basically, we're building a DAO inside of the metaverse, and the DAO will consist of community and curators that help us clean the data, make it as more understandable and cohesive as possible. And it's a job that everybody is taking part of, and it's mostly community-driven. So I want to highlight this importance of how communities are getting together inside the metaverse. So as you can see, there's a lot of economic potential inside this reality.
Sure, and I think, Serena, you can add a lot of them.
Yeah, well, actually, I was thinking about, what's the role of the BGA in all the ecosystem, because we do have, for example, a section on our Discord channel and, of course, on the other social media platforms where all the different BGA members that are nearly 400 today get to know each other and collaborate on projects. So I think the role of these organizations is really being about putting people in contact and work together and facing challenges together for shaping and influencing the space and the communities to grow together. However, that is not always easy because, of course, there are competitions there and there's a market to conquer. So it's interesting to see how we do come all together in this room and work in Web3, most of us, but at the same time, those jobs, can be very, inaccessible sometimes. So I think part of our role is to communicate and educate the public around the potential of new job roles and just create them and make them happen. So that's something that we're also doing and fostering at the BGA. But playing the devil's advocate, I've been questioning these guys today and but do I really need to own a PFP cool project to be part of this specific game? Or do I need to have a wallet with X many assets to prove I can be part of this DAO, this community? Is that what we want, really? So what do you think?
Well, it's a good question because when we actually and not like Cryptomon, but like as a whole in the gaming space, there was significant focus on NFTs and people actually acquiring NFTs within games for the eventual increase in price. So basically like a speculative nature type of investment. And if you look upon that, we understand that if we look at like utility NFTs within the gaming space, you can't really have like an asset that increases its value over time, because your goal as a gaming company is making your game accessible to all.
And it's not sustainable. Like,
exactly. First of all, it's not sustainable.
And scalable.
As well. But when you look at how you focus on building a game, your focus is making your game as accessible as possible, because most games, even if they have only a PvE function, player versus environment, or PvP function, player versus player, they need to have a large community in order to participate in that particular game, because when you have like a matchmaking algorithm and it looks to matchmake two players in the same time, it needs to have significant amount of players. And in order for you to have a significant amount of players, you either onboard many players and bring a lot of awareness to your project at a high price point, or you decrease the price point and you don't need that many of like active players in order for them to participate. So I think our goal in Cryptomon is making our game as accessible as possible. We don't look at crypto gamers as our target audience. We always, like from the get-go, looked at casual gamers as the audience. And when you look at casual gamers, they're not used to spending $300 as an entry-level, let's call it item, in order for them to participate in the game, right? When they play Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, even Fortnite is like a free example. But like the non-free examples, you buy the game for $60, $70 maybe, and then you participate within the metaverse of that game. When in crypto, suddenly you need to buy like 3 assets worth around $500 to $1,000. You have such high price points, and that's actually where guilds thrived, because a lot of the participants within the ecosystems cannot purchase the assets on their own. So I think our focus is decreasing that barrier of entry and making sure that games are available to all. So obviously, as you said, the goal is to lower the entry barriers so a lot of people around the world can participate within the games universe.
So I don't need to have as many assets and be so cool to participate.
Yes, hopefully. That's the end goal, of course.
Wonderful. I have a question actually for you, because I know you've been looking at so many different wallets and see what's in there and how people behave through data. So I'm interested to know, speaking about interoperability, because I think that's the dream everyone has in the room, that all these different metaverses, we don't have to think, this metaverse, that metaverse, but actually they can talk to each other and we can carry over our assets without losing value, at least, continuing building on top of that. So what's the behavior of wallets or people behind wallets in terms of like owning assets and experiencing different metaverses? Can you give us some insights on that?
I think you explained it perfectly at the beginning when you were defining the metaverse. Like, really, you're wherever you want to be inside. And if I want to be that person in one metaverse platform and I want to translate or move my identity to another metaverse platform, that's what interoperability is, right? And it's like physical world, like bearing like geopolitical status. Like I can easily go to Australia and move to another country and Cuba and so on. So that is what we are thinking about interoperability in the metaverse. But at the same time, we have a very important challenge to acknowledge. And this is about how we transfer our assets from one platform or one network to another. And we're seeing it like last week, the bridge, which is our platforms to move tokens from one network to another. They have been quite a weak spot, to be fair. We saw 600 million stolen in Axie Infinity last week in their own inside chain.
What? Sorry, can you say that again?
600 million.
650, but who's counting,
And then we saw a couple of months back, 300 million in Solana Ethereum bridge, which is already 1 billion in just two bridge exploits. So there's that challenge. So how do we make more secure transferring the assets? And also, it's going to be important how projects like start to combine each other and cooperate because it's not the same that I can use my cool cat or my World of Women avatar in one place to another, but we are going to see the evolution of the interoperability, how projects maybe start building APIs so I can use Sand token inside Cryptomon and vice versa. And finally, the last point is how game assets, which are probably the most detailed aspect of each game or each platform, how can I use probably my weapons in Cryptomon, or I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this interoperability really starts to taking. But it's going to be a long process. I mean, we're on the nascent stage of the metaverse, and for now, it's more like how can I use my avatar in the sandbox, or how can I use it in Decentraland, and how can I use it in the World Wide Web. So. It's going to be interesting how the paradigm evolves.
But actually, in terms of interoperability, how do you see that in Cryptomon?
So I'll I'll go to like the macro picture first. So I think in terms of the evolution of gaming, we saw companies building games, and they're one company focused on one game, right? Because you have, let's call it like an indie company still working on their first game. You have to have significant focus. Building a game, always we see the community, when game, right? And everyone expects the game, when you announce it's gonna be a game, they expect it to be like in a week. But you need to have like Unity developers, 3D artists, you need to have so many people working around the clock in order to build like a game that is also has like a core game loop that is engaging, but also like a very deep meta game for the people to actually be interested in it. So I think it was all, like the beginning is one game by one company, and right now we see the shift that is happening within the traditional gaming, that they understand that gaming on the blockchain is going to be a big deal. It's going to be mainstream soon, and they understand that the incentivization mechanics of play and earn as a concept will be something that it will have to integrate in their games as well. So basically what will happen, we will see a shift of very big gaming studios that are used to, are accustomed to building multiple games simultaneously. Basically they will start creating games on the blockchain and creating their own unique metaverse of several games interacting with one another. So I consider this the one company, many games type of model. And as a repercussion of that, those first indie game developers who built one game, one company, they'll start working together alongside each other to interact their games as kind of a competition to like traditional gaming studios. And then you'll see the many games, many companies type of asset. And I think that in that scope, interoperability is the most important aspect. And when you look about how the infrastructure looks today, it's still, as you said, very weak in terms of breach and hacks. And I know many companies, I've talked to many companies working on solutions, infrastructure solutions, in order to enable either the interaction of games within the same blockchain or the cross-blockchain interoperability between games. And I think 2-3 years from now, that's what we're going to be seeing. Because I know that even today, a lot of companies that are not like traditional gaming companies, but blockchain gaming companies, they're working on several games simultaneously in order to facilitate that. And I think that our focus right now in Cryptomon is obviously building the most immersive game possible for our users, for them to enjoy. But looking forward, we're planning on interacting with other blockchains, interacting with other games, building several more games of our own, basically creating an immersive metaverse that like culminates all of it together, right?
Yeah. Interoperability is really important, and actually based on that, this is something you already talked about, Serena, but that's why one of the focus we have in the BGA actually is to try to create bridges between the members depending on the activities they have. You should know that we don't have only blockchain games. We have every kind of actors who has this willingness to spread something about blockchain gaming industry. So this is all about that, and the way we're doing it is obviously these networks is obviously online through our Discord, Telegram, and any other channels we have internally with members, but actually create something specifically physical event as well. I know some of you and some of you as well yesterday had a great dinner. So yeah, that's how we try to create something and build something. So yeah, as a conclusion, Pedro, what could we say about that?
I mean, the potential of the metaverse is huge. It's going to radically change the way we socialize trade, earn. And I'm just going to throw a couple of deeds. And before that, I just want to make a comparison that I love. 1 million seconds are 12 days. 1 billion seconds are 30 years. And 1 trillion seconds are 30,000 years. And why? Why is that? Well, but the investment potential, especially focused on games, is massive. Like last year, we tracked around 7 billion in capital invested in blockchain games and infrastructure. And banks, important banks like JP Morgan, which were previously deniers of cryptos and the whole blockchain concepts, are now all convinced that the metaverse has a good potential. Goldman Sachs just published a statement about an 8 trillion potential of the metaverse. So this is something that will change the way. And also how the new works that we previously talked, like how are people going to change, like I want to be a lawyer or I want to be an accountant to maybe I want to be a designer inside the metaverse. It's going to be very important. And finally, how the macroeconomic picture, like first COVID definitely accelerated the digitalization, and then the unfortunate war in Ukraine has shed some light on how blockchain technologies could be used for social impact, like Ukraine DAO and so many useful organizations that are really helping people. So all in all is how the emergence of these blocks are going to change our lives, definitely.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing all this knowledge with us and with the audience. And yes, if you have any question, thank you. And don't hesitate. We have one question there.
We can take question now, and we're happy to share visions about,
I think you're going to have a mic.
And interoperability.
The mic's on his way.
Mike.
Just there.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. A quick question about how you measure economic impact within games. I'm trying to understand if there's been research on best practices, if you use your own stablecoin or any other unit of account. What type of research can we review and see on how economics in the metaverse work? And where would you recommend that we start? Because this is a very new industry in place.
Do you want to take it, Pedro?
I mean, yeah, I can take the research part and then
yeah, sure.
So where to start? Like, there are a lot of, I mean, I of course, I'm going to say DappRadar. We track, I mean, as much as game as possible, but of course, social media like Twitter and Discord are great places to get along with people and start learning from experts, right? But also, like, there's no better way to learn than getting your hands in a blockchain game, like creating your account and testing, okay, let me buy some asset, let me actually play the game. So that would be my advice. And also like going into the sandbox, like going into Decentraland, take a walk in crypto voxels, like see what's really happening inside these virtual worlds. And actually, I think that's the best way to get in touch with the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just like add to that. So when you look at how economies of scale look like, especially in blockchain gaming, our focus right now is bringing in more traditional gaming knowledge on how to build a sustainable game economy. And I think this is the transition that is actually taking place right now. Not only traditional gaming companies that are shifting, but also people that are game economists within gaming companies are transitioning into gaming, blockchain gaming, in order to facilitate the growth of a sustainable game economy within the space.
Yeah, also on that, actually it was a question we have from a BGA member last week, how to create a sustainable economy for my game. Capitalize on the network we have internally. First, I can help addressing the best people who's working on that subject in particular. And obviously, you can chat with him, try to exchange. So it's going to be a challenge also for us, as we did with DappRadar, to create a report about the blockchain gaming industry end of last year, and I encourage any one of you to go to the website to see what we did with DappRadar. And yeah, capitalizing on the knowledge we have internally.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question.
I think there's one here and maybe one there. And yeah, just to add to that point, the BGA report, it's inclusive of many projects that you can start looking at. And don't go crazy learning everything, stick to what you like and test it yourself. Be part of it, and then you'll learn.
Hello, friends. Thank you for your time and energy today. That was great. My name is Phoenix. I'm building a cooperative generative art NFT trading card game, quite difficult to say that 5 times fast, based on spirituality and consciousness. I'm fascinated philosophically with DAOs, and I'm naturally curious to see how a DAO could play a role in the creation of the card game's meta. That is to say, what the cards do and how they interact with each other. I'm also concerned that could destroy the entire game. So I guess I'm just asking for some advice about DAO implementation mechanics and maybe what the right time is to implement a DAO. Do you launch the NFT, then the token, then the DAO, or how does that go?
Yeah, so I can say a little bit about it. So usually most gaming projects on crypto are working with 2 types of token models. They have the governance token and their gaming tokens. So until now, we only had our gaming token that already launched. But when you're considering blockchain gaming, you must understand that the desire of the game itself, the interest of the game, shouldn't be interesting to you as the game owner, right? It needs to be interactive and enjoyable for the community themselves. And when you look at a DAO, the DAO encompasses that concept of people who are the active participant of your ecosystem being in the forefront or the decision makers of how the actual game will look like. And sometimes when you build a game and you want it to be in a specific like situation or a specific appearance, your community will say, yeah, we don't like that. We don't want it to be like that. We want it to be different. And like our focus in Cryptomon, ever since we started interacting with our community, that was like June of 2021, we basically were focused when we were creating sketches of the game. We gave options to our community, and they voted through this like the original DAO type of mechanic, even though it's not like decentralized DAO, but basically giving the choice to the users themselves. And basically, when you build a game, you want the game to be as engaging as possible, and for that to be engaging, you need to have your community at heart and hearing what they have to say and hearing their opinions, and every vote matters in that case. So that was basically guiding us throughout the whole inception and ideation phase of Cryptomon, as the community were the decision makers on how the game will actually look like, and we were just following their lead and making what they wanted a reality.
I can give you my less attractive view on this.
Devil's advocate every time.
I've been looking into DAOs specifically in relation to art, but also being in conversation with public institutions. That's not easy. They struggle not to understand, but to actually make a more traditional system communicate to something that is super cutting edge. So because the standards and the law around, what you actually can do within a DAO and implement in a system that is, regulated by rules that we all live by, it's not an easy job. But what I can tell you, my vision is that, we're here to make that change and to make that happen. So it's up to us to work towards that and create standards or whatever we want to call them to actually implement that into the systems we live in. So, yeah.
Hi. Sorry. Great. I'm over here. Just right behind.
Okay.
Great discussion so far. I'm more interested in, you mentioned that for Cryptomon, you're trying to bring in traditional gamers as well. And I'm in both traditional gaming communities and the degen communities, and I find that the interests are not always aligned, or rather even conflicting, right? So in traditional gaming communities, they want free-to-play, not pay-to-win. But when you have the digital ownership and the ability to trade, right, then it inherently brings a pay-to-win aspect. So you developed on that asset for so long, you can trade it to somebody new who's coming in. They can spend the money and get that asset, and then they're basically paying to win, right? Because they're more advanced than someone who's starting without being able to buy that asset. So, and then when you go to the degen community on the other side, they're not very excited about the free-to-play aspect. They want to have that barrier to entry to buy the item, get the ROI. So how do you kind of reconcile that difference to bring in both communities and cater to both?
Okay, got the question. So yeah, I think the focus, and I think the focus of most gaming companies today, is decreasing that barrier of entry. Now, when we look at barrier of entry, and I'm just like pivoting away for a question for a little bit, if we look at barriers of entry within blockchain gaming, they're very high right now, right? Our focus as a gaming company is to make our game accessible for casual gamers worldwide. But in this particular instance, and when we try to look at Cryptomon moving forward, we understand that you have an IQ barrier that is very high in order for people to participate in blockchain gaming. Because people need to understand what's an NFT, what's a cryptocurrency, how do you buy cryptocurrency, what are the different networks, what's a MetaMask, how do you interact with different networks. And basically all of those steps are just like another click that harms the user experience for the casual gamer. And due to that fact, I think most companies, I can only say about Cryptomon, but I think most companies in the gaming space are focused upon creating and lowering that IQ barrier and decreasing that barrier of entry for casual gamers. So for example, in our app, we're focused on having like a semi-custodial wallet, where you don't actually own the private keys as the private keys, but you have like your username, your password to enter your wallet. And in that wallet, you have an integration with, currently we're integrated with Simplex, which is the fiat to crypto solution. And basically, you'll be able to buy the tokens and the NFTs using your credit card. So basically, you'll never have to interact with the blockchain if you choose not to. Obviously, you will have the option to withdraw tokens and the NFT to your MetaMask. But obviously, our solution is you're able to win and earn within the ecosystem, and you can just reuse the tokens that you've won within the metaverse of ours. So basically, you'll be able to buy loot boxes, buy NFTs, and you never really have to interact with the concept of blockchain if you choose not to. Also, you have the option of withdrawing everything, liquidating to fiat through PancakeSwap, centralized exchanges, whatever you choose, but you don't really necessarily have to. And I think, and when you look at the casual gamers, which is like the blue ocean right now for blockchain gaming, our focus is making it as accessible as possible, and for them to not even need to understand the concept of blockchain if they choose not to. So when we go back to how it looks, then free-to-play will never be sustainable if we look at free-to-play and earn, because you need to have some sort of incentive mechanic from a monetary perspective, but you try to decrease the barrier of entry to have like a very low price point, so people will be more engaged with it. And when they purchase the tokens on the platform using their credit card, they actually buy them not to liquidate them to fiat in the decentralized or centralized exchanges. They do that because they want to buy your loot boxes, your skins, your assets within the universe, because that's what they're really engaged and interested in. And using those purchases, we can incentivize and the entire ecosystem in terms of the economic perspective, and basically enable them to earn. And the users that are keen on earning, they'll obviously withdraw and liquidate their assets. But the ones that are the casual gamers, they don't care about that aspect. They just enjoy the fact they don't need to repay every time they want to play, like spin use a slot. They don't need to pay every time that they want to participate. They gain assets within the ecosystem that they habit, and then they use those assets again in order to funnel their playstyle.
That was very insightful. Thank you.
Sure.
I think there was a question over here.
One last question.
Last question, I think.
We can come down and talk
Yes.
to everyone, but I think our time is running out.
Thank you for giving me the last question. I'm Jack from Ramdon Network. We're the exclusive fiat on-ramp for Axie Infinity and now DeFi Kingdom. So one of the topics you brought up, very difficult subject, is interoperability. And interoperability is sort of like one of the core tenets of becoming a metaverse. So I'm looking at these gaming projects that wants to work with each other, have the desire to do so, but they can't seem to figure out the competitive logic for it, because they're always afraid that one project's user might take away from another project user. So as the BGA, have you guys, when you try to connect these projects, try to get them work together, what is your approach so far? Like, how do you try to find a way that makes a game like Cryptomon work well, for example, with Axie Infinity, that works well for both projects?
Yeah, it's hard to find the right solutions, and it just popped up to my mind what Sebastian Borge, which actually from the president of the Sandbox, but actually the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance as well, saying that we have to try to build something. So I guess we help to build some bridges depending on their willingness to have interoperability, but it's not always easy to find, the perfect recipe or how to do it, actually. And it will be one of the next step of what we're doing in the BGA as an associations and organizations, which is, okay, we have a lot of conversations among the members, and we need to set some documentations, as we did with DappRadar, to be able to guide any kind of blockchain gaming or not blockchain gaming related to other services related to blockchain, to find that solution instead of interoperability. But it's hard to find a good match and a good answer to that question today, I guess.
I think like two very practical things we're trying to do. One is moderation and knowledge share. So make sure that we are there to like moderate and check that no one is like stepping on each other's feet, but at the same time providing the basic knowledge about all the members and making that contact available. So these are like two things I've been personally focusing on, and making sure that there are contacts being made, but at the same time everyone is playing cool and being respectful of one another. You can express yourself, your opinions, but as long as you're not making that,
Yeah,
I
have like a
we were actually discussing that last night.
Yes.
So it is a topic, but I think that's the reason for us being in the same room discussing all projects. So yeah, we're all part of this. So
when we look at the evolution of gaming, as I talked about it prior, we see that we'll have many companies on many games basically interacting with one another through interoperability. And I think this will be a significant focus, not like in the short term, because I think the short term needs to be gaming projects, gaming companies, focusing on building immersive games with core game loops that are interesting and metagame that is immersive. And I think this should be the focus currently in gaming, because we saw many games launching until today that aren't as engaging or should be more engaging. And I think that when we move forward as to how the future looks like, there will be built bridges on the way that games can interact with one another. And obviously when you're building a game and as a gaming company, and you look at another gaming company that you want to interact with, it's very difficult because you don't have the control over the ecosystem as a whole, because you're letting someone else in. And you're basically then reliant upon his decision making that impacts you in a negative manner when it wasn't your decision to begin with. So I think we will move forward, I think slowly, as the focus needs to be on game development and less on building the bridges right now. And companies are actually focused on building bridges, the APIs, that will enable and foster the connection between different gaming companies.
Yeah. Was the last question. So thank you very much for attending this panel. Thank you very much, and hope to see you.
Thank you.